I've been a doctor for over 15 years, and I thought I'd seen it all. Broken bones, strange infections, kids swallowing Legos, you name it. But nothing prepared me for what happened with Mrs. Linda Hargrave. This story still makes me pause every time I hear a rustle in a quiet room. It all began on a Monday morning. The clinic was already packed when I walked in. Flu season always brings the worst of crowds: coughing kids, tired moms, grumpy dads. My first few patients were typical cases, but then the nurse knocked gently on my door and whispered, "Dr. Blake, you've got a weird one in room 3. I raised an eyebrow. "Define weird," I asked. She says she hears clicking noises in her ear, and they're getting louder. I let out a small chuckle. "Tinnitus?" I guessed. That's pretty common: ringing, buzzing, clicking sounds in the ears due to various reasons. Stress, blood pressure, even jaw problems. I figured it was something like that. But the nurse shook her head. "No. She says it moves. She says it feels like something is crawling in there." I stopped smiling. That was not normal. I walked into room 3. Sitting on the bed was a woman in her late 40s, dressed in a thick cardigan and jeans. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. "Mrs. Hargrave," I said, shaking her hand. "Linda," she corrected, and offered a tired smile. "Thank you for seeing me, doctor. I know this sounds crazy. Tell me what's going on," I said, sitting down beside her. She leaned in, looking over her shoulder like someone might be listening. "For the last 4 days, I've been hearing this scratching sound in my left ear. At first I thought it was maybe wax or something, but then, at night, it started to feel like something was actually moving in there. Not just noise, actual movement. That caught my attention. Movement? Yes, like tiny legs brushing against the inside of my ear. It wakes me up at night. I tried sleeping with music. I tried cotton. I even flushed my ear with warm water." She paused, then whispered, "I think something is inside me." Now, as doctors, we don't jump to conclusions, but I could see she was genuinely frightened. Her hands were shaking. "Have you had any fever, pain, drainage from the ear?" I asked. "No fever, but I feel pressure, like my ear is full, and yesterday I could have sworn I felt something twitch." At this point, I knew this wasn't something I could brush off. I put on gloves and grabbed the otoscope, the small flashlight we use to examine ears. "Let's take a look," I said, gently tilting her head. As soon as I shined the light into her ear canal, I froze. I saw something. Not wax, not redness, something dark, and it moved. For a second, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, but then I saw it again. A twitch, tiny, sudden, real. I took a deep breath, pulled back slowly, and looked her in the eye. "Linda, I need you to stay very, very still." She blinked. "Why? What did you see?" I didn't answer right away. I didn't want to alarm her unnecessarily. I stepped out of the room and called one of our ENT colleagues, a specialist in ears, noses, and throats. Meanwhile, I had the nurse dim the lights and bring me a headlamp and magnifying lens. Linda was holding her hands tightly together when I walked back in. "Doctor, please just tell me. I need to know what's going on." I nodded. "There's something in your ear canal. I believe it's a small insect, possibly alive." Her face went pale. "Oh my God. I need you to remain calm. I'm going to attempt a gentle extraction, but if it moves deeper, we may need to refer you to the ER for sedation." She covered her mouth with both hands. The truth is, I've removed bugs from ears before. It happens more than people think. But the fact that it was alive, and had been for 4 days, made this case a lot more complicated. With her lying still, I adjusted the lens and got a closer view. Now, under the light, I could see it clearly. A small spider. Its body was tucked into the curve of the canal, legs curled tight against the moist wall. It wasn't moving much now, maybe stunned by the light or the noise, but it was real, and it was inside her. It's hard to describe the feeling of seeing something alive inside a human ear. You don't expect it. You're trained to look for infections, blockages, fluid, not something with 8 legs. The spider, dark brown and no bigger than a fingernail, was sitting still inside Linda's left ear canal. I could see its legs curled in, almost like it was hiding or sleeping. But I didn't know if it was dead or just resting. And honestly, I didn't want to find out the hard way. "Linda," I said gently, keeping my voice low, "we're going to take this one step at a time. I've seen this before. You're not the first. You're going to be okay." She didn't speak. Her hands were still over her mouth, and her eyes were full of tears. Not the loud sobbing kind, the silent, terrified kind, the kind where you don't even know how to process what's happening. I told her to lie down slowly, her head tilted to the side, ear facing upward. I dimmed the lights again, turned on my headlamp, and told the nurse to stand by with irrigation tools, just in case. The problem with removing a live insect from the ear is that if you agitate it, it can go deeper. The ear canal is narrow but long enough to hide in, and if it makes it all the way to the eardrum, it can do real damage. Perforation, infection, permanent hearing loss. I had to stay calm, for her and for me. I reached for a sterile saline solution. Sometimes, flushing the ear can force the insect out. Other times, it only makes it panic. But as I lifted the bottle, Linda stopped me. "What if it crawls deeper?" she whispered. "It might," I said truthfully, "but we'll keep you safe. If this doesn't work, I'll refer you to ENT and they'll sedate you. You and remove it under a microscope, but I want to try the safest, least invasive way first." She nodded slowly, breathing heavily through her nose. I began to irrigate her ear, just a gentle stream of warm saline, directed at the upper wall of the ear canal. I didn't want to hit the spider directly. That could trigger it to move. But after a few moments, nothing happened. The spider stayed still. "Doctor?" Linda whispered, her voice shaking. I leaned closer, and that's when I saw it. One of the spider's legs twitched, just a small jerk, then another. It was still alive. I put down the bottle and signaled to the nurse to bring me a small alligator forceps, thin, curved tweezers we use in delicate procedures. I steadied my hands. My heart was racing, but I couldn't show it. I adjusted the light and moved the forceps toward the opening of her ear. And just as I reached the edge of the spider's body, it moved. It darted forward. Linda flinched, gasping in panic, but I stopped her from moving. "Don't move," I said quickly. "It's okay. It didn't go deeper. I've still got it." I paused. Then slowly, carefully, I gripped the edge of the spider's body with the tweezers and began to pull. It didn't fight. Maybe it was weak. Maybe it didn't know what was happening, but I pulled gently, inch by inch. And finally, it came out. Still whole, still intact, and very much alive. I dropped it into a clear specimen container and sealed the lid immediately. Linda sat up, eyes wide. "Did you get it?" I held up the container. She screamed, not loud, just a sharp gasp like she'd seen a ghost. She turned her face away and began to cry. "It was real," she whispered. "I thought I was going crazy, but it was real." "You weren't crazy," I said. "You were brave. You came in, and you were right." She looked up at me, tears on her cheeks. 4 nights I couldn't sleep. I heard it moving. I heard it clicking. And everyone, my husband, my sister, kept saying it was in my head. That hurt to hear. Too many patients, especially women, get dismissed when something feels off. But Linda trusted her gut, and she was right. "Would you like to see it?" I asked. She shook her head hard. "No. God, no. Just get rid of it." I handed the sealed container to the nurse. "Send it for lab analysis just in case." Linda needed a moment to calm down. I gave her tissues, let her rest, and offered to have her husband pick her up. She agreed. But before she left, she asked the question that was already haunting me. "Doctor, how did it get in there?" That's when I realized we didn't have that answer yet. And the real story behind how the spider got into her ear was even more surprising than what we'd already seen. Linda sat quietly in the exam room while the nurse handed her a bottle of antibiotic ear drops. I could still see a slight tremble in her hands as she reached for them. She looked at me and said, "I can't stop thinking about it crawling around in my head," while I slept. "I know," I said softly. "That feeling will fade with time. But you did the right thing coming in." She gave a weak nod but didn't say much else. She was still in shock. After she left, I walked into the staff lounge and sat down. The spider, sealed in the specimen container, sat on the counter beside me. Even through the clear plastic, it gave me chills. It was small, yes, but it had thick legs for its size, the kind that looked like it didn't just wander in, but climbed in, on purpose. I stared at the container, trying to understand how it happened. Spiders don't just fall into ears. It's not like they're attracted to people's heads. That's when I remembered something Linda said earlier. She'd tried sleeping with cotton in her ear. That detail stuck with me because it meant she had been trying to block something out. Maybe sounds, or maybe bugs. The next morning, I called her. "Hi, Linda. It's Dr. Blake. How are you feeling today?" She sounded tired. "Honestly, I still feel like it's in there. I know it's not, but I keep hearing phantom sounds. It's driving me crazy." "That's completely normal," I reassured her. "Your brain needs time to adjust. But I wanted to ask, if it's not too much, can we go back a bit? I want to know more about what happened before the symptoms started." She hesitated for a second, then said, "Sure. Were you outside much that week? Camping? Gardening?" "No, not really," she said. "I haven't been feeling great lately, with my blood pressure and all. I mostly stay indoors." I scribbled some notes. "Any pets? Cats? Dogs?" "Nope, just me and my husband. We live in an old farmhouse out in the country." That made me pause. "How old are we talking?" I asked. "Built in the 1940s, she replied. "We've been slowly renovating, but it still has some crawl space issues and, yeah, bugs." "Have you ever had pest problems?" "All the time," she said. "Mostly ants, sometimes roaches, and spiders too. I see them in the bathroom and laundry room. We put out traps." Bingo. That was my answer. "Where do you sleep, Linda? Upstairs?" "Yeah, the attic room. It's cozy, but we don't have AC up there, so we sleep with the windows open most nights." I leaned back in my chair. It all made sense now. Open windows, a rural area, a home known for spiders, no AC, which meant she likely wasn't using a fan, something that usually scares away crawling insects. Add to that, an attic bedroom with exposed wooden beams and corners. It was practically an invitation for spiders to drop in. I didn't want to scare her more, so I kept my voice calm. "It's very possible the spider crawled in while you were sleeping. Maybe it was looking for warmth, moisture, or just got lost." "God," she whispered, "I'll never sleep again." "Yow." "I will," I said gently. "Just maybe consider sealing your windows at night, or sleeping with a light fan. And you might want to have an exterminator take a look." She thanked me and hung up. But I still had one more mystery to solve, the identity of the spider. Later that day, I got a call from the lab. "Hey, Dr. Blake, got your spider sample. Pretty interesting." "What kind was it?" I asked. The lab tech cleared his throat. "It's a Peristeatoda tepidariorum, commonly known as the American house spider. Not dangerous, harmless bite, mostly lives in quiet corners, ceilings, attics, likes to stay hidden." "Harmless," I repeated, staring at the wall. "Doesn't feel harmless when it's in your head." "Fair enough," he said with a chuckle. The report confirmed that the spider had no toxins that could hurt humans. It hadn't laid eggs, thank God, and there were no signs of internal damage to Linda's ear. Medically, she was fine. Psychologically, that was another story. As a doctor, I don't scare easily. But the idea that something could crawl into your body, live there for days, and make a home inside you without anyone knowing still haunts me. And the worst part, it could happen to anyone. A week later, Linda came back for a follow-up. Her ear had healed well, no infection, no damage to her eardrum. Physically, she was doing fine, but I could still see the shadow of fear in her eyes. "I haven't slept upstairs since," she admitted. "We moved to the guest room downstairs. I can't even look at the attic door." "That's understandable," I said. "It's going to take time, but the worst is behind you." She nodded, but then added, "You know what scares me the most? I almost didn't come in. I thought maybe I was imagining it. I started to doubt myself. That stuck with me. Because what if she hadn't come? What if the spider had moved deeper, caused real damage? What if someone else ignored a symptom because they were afraid of sounding crazy? Linda's case taught me something. Trust your body. When something feels wrong, it probably is. After she left, I okayed at the small sealed container one last time before the lab disposed of it. Just a spider, small, quiet, harmless, until it wasn't.